Hey, so in this video I am making a rainbow lei. It is for a pride lei, and so what I have here is some of the stuff that I will need to put it together. Thread and needle, a little Sharpie, fine tip is preferred, scissors, and then I'm using some 3/8 inch ribbon of various colors. You could see each stack is a different color, so I have pink, yellow, orange, green, blue, red, and purple thread or ribbon here. I am using both a satin ribbon and a grosgrain ribbon, all 3/8 inch. So you can see here's satin and grosgrain. So you can mix it up, you can keep it all the same. I decided to mix it up just for a difference in texture on the lei itself. And I'm using some heavy duty thread. What I like to do is make sure I have more than amply enough thread strung on the needle. I do double it up so it is equivalent to 2 threads running through the entire lei itself. In total, I probably will start with at least 6 feet of ribbon. Again, more than enough to for the lei itself, but I like to have more than not enough. It's easier to cut the thread than it is to add more thread for a lei. So I've gone ahead and done that. I will start my needle here and get that threaded. I do again double it up, so I will match the 2 tails of the lei at the end and knot it. That will create the base of where the ribbon will sit against, so it doesn't slide off the end of my thread as I'm working on the lei. I do make sure that the knot for the lei is a good distance away from the end. You want to make sure that you have room to tie the lei together, finish it off at the end. So you want to have a good length, a tail at the end of the thread before the knot. So here I will knot it, nothing fancy. You just want the knot big enough to hold the ribbon on it. So here we go. That's a pretty good size knot that I don't have to worry about the ribbon coming through that. So now that I have my thread, my needle threaded, I will go ahead and start working on the ribbon. Now what I need to do with the ribbon is I need to mark the ribbon. So I will start with just any color. In my case, because I am doing it more of a rainbow coloring scheme, I just choose one color, but then you need to make sure that the next color on the lei is appropriate according to the rainbow. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to figure out how wide I want the finished lei. So depending on how wide you want it, that's going to determine your the distance that you're going to mark on the ribbon itself. So in my case, I determined that I wanted it about 1.5 inches wide. So you can see here, each one of the major lines is representing 1 inch. So if I do about 1.5 inches, I need to place a mark right where I had my finger. So 1.5 inches, I will put a mark there, and then move down another 1.5 inches, and I'll put another mark on the ribbon. You don't want to use a thick or a fat tip Sharpie or pen because you just need it so it marks it on the ribbon so you could see where you need to thread the ribbon. So I will repeat this process for the entire spool and every single color. So here I've finished. The ribbon is now marked appropriately, and then I will go ahead and start threading the ribbon onto the lei. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to do an up-down threading of the ribbon onto the needle at every single mark. So that's again an inch. I did an 1.5 inches. So you're just going to keep going up and down every 1.5 inches where it's marked. What I did was because I'm doing a rainbow coloring, I did about 25 loops, and then I would move to the next color. So this is just the blue, and then I will proceed forward with additional colors to create that rainbow effect. Now, if you would like, you could do just a single color. You could do, for instance, I'm doing blue right now. You could just do blue all the way through. If you wanted to do, let's say, school colors, and maybe the school color is blue and white, you could always do like a 1/4 inch ribbon and a 3/8 inch ribbon layered, and then do the entire lei that way. Or you could just do half one color, alternating between one color and the second color for the school, as an example. In my case, I have 7 colors, so I am doing one section, one color, and then just keep repeating that. You'll kind of see that process here shortly. So I am trying to finish the 25 loops. I lose count every now and then my thread being so long would get twisted, so it just takes a little bit. Once you get going, it's much easier, but to start with, this is a common thing running into. Just kind of have to keep in mind to untangle it every so often so you don't get too far along in the process. So here I am untangling my end. There we go. And then condensing that down into a bunch. There you go. So you could kind of see how it naturally spirals and then creates a little, I like to call them like a pom-pom. It creates a nice little bunch of the blue ribbon. Once I've reached my 25 loops, I'll go ahead and cut the ribbon to finish that section. You want, when you cut it, being that I have 1.5 inches, so you'll have about 3/4 inch on each side of the thread itself. You want to cut relatively close to the thread, but not close enough where you're going to, if there's any unraveling of the ribbon, that it will unravel and come off the thread. So you want to leave a good portion of ribbon, but not exceed the 3/4 inch. So my rule of thumb is just maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch ribbon, and then cut. That will finish that section. You could put the color on the side and start on the next section. So for me, I decided, again, rainbow. My next color would be this purpley color. This is a gross grain, but it is no different than if I was to be doing a satin. You just continue every 1.5 inches, up, down until you've completed your 25 loops. And then you would compress it and get a nice lei. All right, so I am now finished. I used two 21 feet spools of ribbon per color. So that's 2 spools, 7 colors, 14 spools total. And that's what I got here. It's about a 36-inch lei finished, the total circumference of the lei. What I will do now is go ahead and take the knot of the lei at the one tail, the starting tail, and go ahead and knot that to the finishing edge to really bring the two sides together and make a complete lei. So here I am. I'm just creating a little bit longer of a tail since I have so much extra thread here. And it'll make it easier to tie the two ends together. I like to use the knot that I created at the start of the lei kind of to hold the thread together as I'm knotting it. So that's just a little tip that could be used as leverage to kind of keep it nice and taut together while tying the knot. So here I am really tightening it together and then doing some extra knots to really make sure that it stays in place. The last thing you would want is for the graduate or individual wearing the lei, for the lei to come undone while they have it on. So I like to really make sure that the knots are tight, and there's several to kind of lock it in place. Once I have that knot done, I will just go ahead and trim the thread. And you want to trim it close to the lei again, but not close enough where it's too close to the knot, but you want it hidden within the ribbon. I'm going to put the lei off on the side, and here I am going to take some of the extra ribbon that is left over from the spools, and I'm going to create a bow to stick on the lei itself. So what I'm going to do is pull the cardboard spools off the remaining ribbon and clean up the tails. And what I'm going to do is use this ribbon as kind of the tails of the bow itself. So again, what I like to do is make sure that I cut the ends to make sure it's nice and clean. I usually angle my cuts at the end. It does give it a nice look. What I was showing, the silver ribbon, is what I'm using to tie the bow together. I found kind of the middle point of all the ribbon and tied the knot to hold it together. Here I am just again trimming the ends of the ribbon. What I'm doing more specifically, as you get closer to the end of the spools, you'll notice that the glue from the spool itself has stuck to the ribbon. It does make it a little messy looking. Sometimes you can pull the glue off, sometimes you can't. In this case, I didn't feel like fighting the glue, so I'm just cutting the ribbon where it's clean. And I don't see any more glue remnants, so that's why I'm running my fingers on the ribbon to find where the last glue remnants are, and then cutting appropriately. This ribbon here is what I'm going to use to create the bow itself. Now, if you haven't seen my video, I do have a video where I actually walk through this at a slower pace, but in this case what I'm doing is I have two different size ribbons. You can see it's like 1.5 inches thick holographic ribbon. That's that silvery color ribbon, and then I've layered a rainbow, I believe it was 3/4 inch ribbon on top of it. This ribbon is not wired edge, it is just a plain ribbon. Happens to be metallic coloring. Fluff the bow up and then tie the tails the leftover ribbon as tails onto the lei itself. So here is the lei all finished with the bow. The bow is nice and big again because it is a pride lei. Wanted to really make sure that it stood out and was really glistening in sunlight. It is for a graduate, so it was an outdoor ceremony. It would really pop in the sunlight. This was a great bow for the lei to finish it off. Yeah.